Ramon, do you remember in the old days there used to be the saying, "Puro Maak a plan"? What do you think of that?
So you called me before recording this, and you were moaning about a few of your service providers, right? And they like just close their shops or close their businesses during the course of load shedding, even though like it's a tiny business, and you couldn't wrap your head around people just closing up, not making a plan, not making alternatives to what is happening to them in real life. And I have the same thing as well. Lots of people are saying, there's load shedding, I can't do anything. Load shedding is not your fault, but it is your problem. To have no alternatives whatsoever in 2023, we can't live together in balkanized South Africa. You need to make a fucking plan, as the saying goes.
Yeah, I am shocked that it's 2023 and people are still like, load shedding, it's impacting business. And at this point in time, I'm now at the point where I just think to myself, you know what? If you don't have a plan for load shedding in 2023, you deserve to go bust. You can buy a generator, a 5 kVA generator from freaking Macro for 5K. If you're running a business and you can't afford 5K, you deserve to go bust. You got bigger problems. If you can't afford 5K, you got far bigger problems than load shedding.
Yeah, and the point of the story, or the moral of the story, is not that life is easy. Life is a tragedy. It always has been and always will be. It's only since Oprah where the self-esteem and self-confidence and I can be who I ever want to be bullshit comes through. I blame Oprah and Disney for all of that stuff. Before that, go read the great books on literature. Go read the Bible. Go read Friedrich Nietzsche. It's all about life being tragic, not nihilistic. Tragic. And how you deal with that tragedy of living is how life unfolds for you. And in South Africa in particular, it is more tragic than most places, but it is a lot better than most places as well at the same time. So stop thinking that something owes you something. Maak a plan.
Yeah, like the old people used to do. Remember in the old days? I think we should just use this as an example just to highlight what we really mean. And I want to talk about this a little bit further. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. You can give me a couple examples. So I sent you an actual article. There's the Jeep store in Jeffreys Bay. It's been operating for 25 years, it's been very successful. Now, the individuals who run it have got older. As they've got older, they've handed the business over to a younger individual in the family. And the individual within 2 years had killed the business. Now, this 25-year-old business is dying. Why? Because these individuals have zero idea on how to actually run a business. They're not raised to believe in how do I make a plan? How do I run my business in an effective model? They've been interviewed and there's people have asked them, why are you going bust? And they go, load shedding. Can't take money. Peak holiday period, can't take money. Mate, if you can't run a till on a 1.5 kVA generator that cost you $1,500 from Macro, what are you doing in business, man? It's not like you need big generators for fridges or something. It's a freaking clothes store. The only thing you need to make sure is operating during those periods are probably your Wi-Fi and your till. You can run that on a small little UPS. But they haven't made a plan. In their idea, the answer to fixing this is the government must just sort out electricity. The government must just provide it. But that's not what our ancestors used to do. Our ancestors used to make a plan. They used to figure out a way how to get through the adversities and come out the other end. That's why the old business adage is business finds a way. But these people have no way. They don't know how to find a way. Their way is the state must fix it.
And the worst part about all this is that this is modernity in a nutshell, right? For some reason, people do believe, maybe through propaganda, maybe through media, maybe through watching too many Disney movies, that life is supposed to be easy, that the tragedy of life isn't supposed to happen anymore. We've elevated ourselves as humans to become demigods, and therefore we should be treated as such. It's, until the hard, cold punch of reality smacks you in the face, my friend. That is the big bullshit lie society sells you. To think that a pair of jeans that you buy from whoever will solve your problems, that's the lie society tells you. But if you can't run a business because of load shedding, I'm not talking about a huge factory with 1,000 workers, right? I'm talking about the normal mom and pop store, the normal place that doesn't need a lot of electricity. If you can't make a plan to save your business, number one, why are you running a business in the first place? And number two, if you can't even save your business during load shedding because you don't want to fork out 5K for a KVA, what are you doing to your children? To your family, your duties towards other things other than yourself? Because if you don't have a duty to your business, I'm really concerned about your duties to other very important things.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I have an example of an individual where I live that this Christmas went away. They went away to the Western Cape. I'm sure they had a lovely time on the Western Cape beaches. They sat there with their family in the sun. They've come back and now all I hear is bitch, bitch, bitch because they're saying, no electricity, can't run the business. Not being funny, mate, but why didn't you stay home, save the at least 20 or 30 grand that it cost you to go there and buy a UPS so that you could afford to feed your kids? That way you'd never have any downtime. And wow, you'd have a competitive advantage in that when your competitors go under and they go down because they didn't prepare against load shedding, you did. and then you would thrive. You'd have more business. You'd have more money at a later stage. And it's important that we draw reference to this because, as Jordan Peterson says, the decline of the West can be linked to the decline in the concept, the Christian concept of delayed gratification. The concept itself says, if I have a small piece of gratification now, in other words, a small piece of gratification in doing the work, at a later stage, I will have a larger reward, whether that be in the afterlife or when I die and I go to heaven or something like that. Maybe it will be at a later stage. The fruits of my works will be rewarded to me. All biblical concepts. But nowadays, that's not the way it works. The guy goes on holiday, he has a lovely time with his family, the money's gone, and then he comes back to the business. Now it's everybody else's fault. He can't operate because he didn't mark a plan. No one has the foresight to think this. And then when it all becomes problematic, who do they blame? The government. Why didn't ESCOM fix it? Why are you relying on ESCOM? Your first question should be, why didn't you fix it? Why didn't you come up with a plan to fix it yourself?
As I said at the top of the video, it's ESCOM's fault, but it is your problem to fix. Not to fix ESCOM, but to fix that you don't have any electricity. And in conclusion, at the end of the day, life is really about doing the basic fundamentals every single day, right? The basic fundamentals are always try to be healthy, try to eat well, try to make money for the day, and make sure that that happens over time. That's when you get leverage. That's when you get exponentially better at whatever it is you are doing. But if you think you can rely on the state or can rely on the ANC or on ESCOM or the South African government or anything like that, if those people who are very low IQ people, if they can ruin your future, if you don't take care of the basic fundamentals, that's not an indictment on them. It's an indictment on you.
I would agree with that entirely. It is definitely an indictment on the individual that allows it to occur. Look at what Russell Lamberti says, and he's very clear on this in his whole speech on building a trench. He says, the problem with individuals is they will sit back and go, the state's not providing for me. So what I'll do is I'll bugger off to another country, Australia, New Zealand, I don't know, some other shit, and go, at least their infrastructure works. And as their infrastructure works, I just go there. It will be an easier life for me, right? Except at some point in time, these problems are going to arise there too. You cannot assume that the whole world is going to be sealed off from these types of issues. These issues are becoming universal. And as they become universal, these problems will arise for the next generation. So the question is, at some point in time, somebody's going to have to learn how to take a stand, build a trench, and figure out a way to become self-reliant, how to get over these problems themselves, how to mark a plan. So it's either going to be them or it's going to be the kids. As Russell says, at some point in time, you just got to take a stand. It's either going to be you or your children. This is our land. This is our country. I'm a fourth generation South African. I was born here. My ancestors were born here. I am entitled to this place just as much as anyone else. If I'm going to make a stand, I might as well make a stand here. Why would I go somewhere else to make a stand in some foreign shithole that means nothing to me? I have no connection to. And why should I go there to live a happier life so that at some stage my kids have to struggle? I would rather raise my kids to learn how to mark a plan, to be ingenuitive, to be entrepreneurial, to be able to look after themselves than to rely on some shithole of a country like, I don't know, England, and that they must sit there on their bloody social welfare system. That's not who I am. That's not who my family are. That's not who my ancestors were. I don't think your ancestors were those people either, Ramon.
No, they were absolutely not. So I am not from South Africa. I did come here voluntarily when I was younger, and I do plan to stay. And I'm a citizen, and it is my home. And because it's my home, it's the place where I want my children to grow up. I'm going to make sure that their lives are a little bit easier than my life. And I think if you have that same mindset, South Africa is a wonderful place to live in. Thanks for watching, everyone.